Welcome to Saints on Cinema. I am Tim Wild, and we have a full house of hosts tonight. Josh Edlow is here. He's down there. And Ashley is there. And Nate Woodbury, old high school friend of mine, is joining us for the first time. And I'm excited about this because he always has opinions that he's going to shout out on Facebook when I bring up movies. And now he's here digitally in the flesh to share his thoughts about an awesome topic. Mortal Kombat. See what I did? Did that work? I just made that up right here on the spot.
That's sure? Beautiful sign language, Tim.
Ashley, what's Mortal Kombat in sign language?
You spell it out.
You just spell it out? Well, let's see it. Did you do that with a K or a C?
Okay.
All right. Anyway, tonight we're going to talk about Mortal Kombat. The movie came out. Josh and I talked about the trailer in our last week's episode, and I haven't had time to edit and put that episode out, so you guys will never get to know my first impressions of some of that footage until now. So I guess that's not true. Right now, you're going to hear my footage or my whatever. You know what I'm saying. Anyway, Nate, you, my friend, are a video game guy, right? As I remember.
Yeah.
In our younger days.
I've done my fair share of gaming.
Okay. We had some conversations in previous discussions on this channel about Mortal Kombat a little bit. And I've always expressed I'm a Street Fighter guy, so it'll be fun to have your input as a person that's intelligent and awesome, knows about video games, and cares about the franchise, I'm sure, a little bit more than me, but we'll get there. But first, we got to talk about personal studies. I want to know if you guys have been watching anything, or if you've seen any movies or anything that you want to express, anything that's not on the slate for the discussions. Hey, want to see anything cool?
So
go ahead.
Yeah, so I would say I have, like, in the last week or two, really just been like rewatching. I got Peacock a little while ago, and I have been watching. They have a super fan version of The Office on Peacock. So it's basically extended versions of all of the episodes. So I started watching that. And that's kind of, like, there's a reason why they cut certain things, And so, like, you watch it and it's like, so I watched, actually just before we started, I was watching the healthcare episode, which is probably one of my favorite episodes of The Office. And they added a bunch of stuff in there that wasn't quite funny, and it kind of ruined the flow of the episode. So it was.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I just barely started watching Peacock because I'm being introduced to Parks and Rec. I'm 4 seasons in. We've talked about this before, and someone else got me their access. I'm going to confess that right now, and that was in exchange for my HBO access for them. But watching it, I was watching a couple of Office episodes, and I was like, wait a minute. There's something that was cut out there, and because I've seen them so many times on Netflix, and I know there's deleted scenes on the DVDs. I was like, there's a joke or a line missing here and here, and I know they're missing. But then I'm like, that scene was not, or that line was not on there before. So some stuff is cut out and some stuff is added. I swear. I don't have examples.
Are you watching the super fan edition? Or
I don't know. I'm just watching on Peacock. I didn't know there was more than one version.
Yeah, they're really pushing it right now. So
right, you go on there. Here's the Jim episodes. Here's the Dwight episodes. It's like really in your face. Any possible arc you could be interested in, bam, here's your collection. It's like, you guys have nothing. This is like a 15, 20-year-old show now, and this is what you're throwing in our face, trying to stay competitive. I don't know. I'm really curious about those cuts, though, like you're talking about. But I noticed.
The other thing just that I've watched recently, I rewatched So I Married an Axe Murderer.
I saw that on there.
And that still holds up. So fantastic. The subtle humor in there is just so good. I think it might be Mike Myers' best work. Like, it's just so funny with all of the different stuff.
Yeah.
So good.
I stopped enjoying Mike Myers when I met him in New York.
Oh,
really?
He was just I'm sure, like, everybody has their bad days, but I was in culinary school out behind the alley. We were down in Soho, Manhattan, and my friends were out smoking, and I was enjoying a conversation, and here comes Mike Myers. We're like, whoa, are you Mike Myers? And he just, I don't even remember what he said anymore, but he just ripped us to shreds. Like, how dare we, speak to him? Like, so I can't watch Shrek or Austin Powers anymore without like that tainted image.
Yeah.
So,
I've heard stories like that about what's his name? Jim Carrey. And I knew people that are in the industry out there, and they just talk about people on the set, how they're on pins and needles because he's, let's just say intense. It's still hearsay, but allegedly he's kind of a jerk to work with. And so I like, once you have that little bit of insight, you're like, it kind of puts a distaste in your mouth for their work after that a little bit. I can watch anything early Jim Carrey, but not after. I'm like, hey, because here's when I found out, so that's when he became a jerk. I'll just put that in.
On the subject of Parks and Recreation, while you're watching it through, just avoid the last season because it's garbage.
Everyone said the first season's the garbage one.
No way. The last season was horrible. Like it pushes it into the future and takes it into like this sci-fi setting.
Oh, don't spoil it.
Okay, sorry.
Everyone says the last season of The Office was awful. I defend. I don't like the last season. I can't watch it. Actually, we were just talking about this. I can't get through the last season of The Office ever again because I think it's a betrayal to some of the characters, specifically Pam and Jim. But everyone says after Michael left, the show is garbage, and I argue that. I think the show went to some really fun places without Michael. It was better with Michael, obviously, but I think there was some great stuff that happened later.
I would agree with that. I think that it definitely changed, and it was not the best version of The Office, but there was a lot of fun stuff, and I actually loved that last episode like a lot.
Oh, the last I can't watch. I'll never watch it again because it was so good. It just breaks my heart. I just can't do it. I'm not gonna do it. I did it once and I'm done. So I phased out like the season right before that.
Let me just point out for the record, Tim thoroughly enjoyed something, so he'll never watch it again. So
I don't want to go cry again. I don't go out of my way to get emotional and heartbroken. I don't like series finales. They kill me. I don't get that far. It takes a lot for me to get to the end of the show.
To be fair, Tim, though,
embrace your emotion. Let go of that toxic masculinity and embrace your emotions, buddy.
Yeah, Tim, you cry at the Alf Christmas special.
I do. Yes. There's a lot of things I cry at.
You watch it every year. Every year you watch that.
I'm not afraid to cry, gentlemen and Ashley. I'm just saying. There's some of them like I don't need to. I don't think there's a lot of quality to that episode or entertainment. I'll say there's great quality, but it's not entertaining for me to watch something just to be sad. If it was a Christmas series finale, maybe that'd be different. I don't know, because there's something to get out of Christmas. Anyway, moving on. Anything else are you watching, Josh, Ashley? You watch anything, Ashley, or is it sign language class?
I rewatched Dear Frankie. I like that movie. It's a foreign Scottish movie.
Scottish. Good. So that's our theme with So I Married an Axe Murderer. I did see that, Josh. It was coming. It was on there, and I got to put it on my list. That'll be next week after my film class is over. What about you, Nate? What have you been watching lately, man?
I just got finished binging Star Trek Discovery, and that was fun.
That's the new one, right?
Yeah. It starts in the time of Captain Pike. Kirk is like off on some other ship. Like he's not even mentioned. Spock's in the second season, and then they do what I think is takes it where no human has gone before, and they go like 900 years into the future, where like we've never gotten a Star Trek story, and the Federation is in shambles, and it's a lot of fun.
You're liking it. I've heard a lot of people ragging on it.
It ignores like most of the modern Star Trek, it ignores some of the canon and is like, you know what, we're just going to conveniently, Deus Ex Machina this right here. So it's definitely flawed, but it's fun. It's kind of like Mortal Kombat. It's flawed, but it's fun.
Fly?
And
what are
then
you talking about?
and then I when I finished that, I started watching Star Trek Picard because naturally keeping on the Star Trek curve.
Have you seen all of every series of Star Trek?
I haven't seen all of Deep Space Nine, but all of the rest of them I've watched pretty much through.
Wait, everyone tells me how the end of Deep Space Nine is so amazing. You sat all through Voyager, but you didn't finish Deep Space Nine?
Voyager is one of my favorites because Voyager Voyager is a modern recreation of the next generation version of Captain Kirk's 5-year mission, where they were out in space and nobody to support them but themselves.
Yeah.
And so that kind of survival story was I really enjoyed that one.
Okay.
Deep Space Nine felt a lot more soap opera-ish. There was a lot of crap that happened on a station and not on a starship. Like, come on, this is Star Trek. Get us on a starship and go out where no man has gone before.
Yeah, that makes sense. Or you're not on a journey. It's just you're hanging out in one place where people come and go. It's like more of a set. I get that. Well, I was going through with another one of our frequents, Kirsten. We were going through Star Trek: The Next Generation because I've never watched the entire series, and we got through halfway through season 2 before COVID and a lot of other complications in life. So you'll have to jump in on some of those with us when we resume those, because Next Generation is awesome, and I'm kind of discovering it myself. I watched them as kids with my mom and stuff, but to really watch it as an adult, it'll be fun. All right. Well, I just want to say I watched 2 movies this week, and we'll just be short here. 2 of them I've never seen before. One of them was Glory. This is for my film class. I have never seen that movie, and I gotta say I enjoyed it, but Matthew Broderick doesn't really work for that part for me. I just couldn't take him seriously when he was trying to be assertive and aggressive, especially with other of the military leaders. I was like, I'm not buying it. You're acting like Ferris Bueller a little bit, and he's Matthew a good actor. There's nothing about that.
Characters he plays.
What's that?
I said Matthew Broderick doesn't work for most characters he plays.
Oh, stop it. He was great in Godzilla.
Oh.
What?
That wasn't even Godzilla. That's not even a kaiju. Come on.
No.
I like him. I think he's a good actor. But that part, I couldn't buy the mannerisms, the demeanor that he was trying to present. I didn't get that he was going to get any support from anyone he interacted with, because he didn't have a presence that was going to be demanding or commanding. So anyway,
right. It was like Keanu. It was like Keanu Reeves in Dracula. It just felt off.
I will defend parts of that movie. I watched that this last Halloween.
It's a brilliant movie.
Yeah.
Brilliant, but
as a narrative, though, it doesn't work. I'll just say it doesn't. It's hard to connect the dots unless you're familiar with the story. That's the only way. And I watched with someone who was very familiar with it and read the book, and we watched it together, and it was kind of our first viewing. And I was like, yeah, it doesn't connect the dots unless you already know the story. But anyway, so I watched that, and I was just embarrassed. I was watching Glory, and I got to the end of it, and I was like, who is this black guy? He's really good, but I couldn't figure out who he was. And I was like, and I paused it because I had to go to my son's baseball. And then it pops up, and it was freaking Denzel Washington. I'm like, I've never seen.
Yeah.
I was introduced to Denzel on Man on Fire. I never saw him that young, so I didn't even recognize him.
I'm pretty sure
right
he got an Academy Award nomination for that role.
Really? I'm not surprised. It was really good.
He was phenomenal.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
The scene where when he had to whip him and discipline him and he that stare down intensity, I was like, oh, he gives that look to everyone in the Equalizer movies. Like,
reminds you of Geordie LaForge's Kunta Kinte.
Huh?
It reminds you of Geordie LaForge's Kunta Kinte, where they were like whipping him. Roots, come on.
Yeah.
Cool.
I watched Roots in high school. That was rough.
Right?
That's a rough
series.
Right.
Last thing I watched was Won't You Be My Neighbor? And I remember, Josh, you watched that, right? The documentary one, not the Tom Hanks one. Didn't you watch that in 2018?
I don't think so.
Did you watch it, Nate?
No.
I thought you watched it, Josh. I thought you mentioned it when it came out. All right.
Oh, you're talking about that's on that's
Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers. Yeah, I did. I watched
the
that.
documentary.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a terrible documentary. I'm sorry. I don't think I didn't realize how much I understood documentary as a form, but between Tiger King and my film classes and stuff, I've watched a lot of documentaries the last couple years, and as a documentary, it was not very well done. And then I was like, didn't this win something? I pulled it up and it said no. Everyone was complaining that it was snubbed for the Oscars. I was like, no, it wasn't. It was good. The content, I argue with Ashley about this. The content and what you're seeing and what you're learning about Mr. Rogers is great, and who he is, all that is awesome. But the narrative of the documentary was not well done. Sorry, Josh.
We all just note really quickly that Tim is holding Tiger King documentary and Mr. Rogers. I am. Where is your moral?
That's not my standard for amazing documentaries, by the way.
He's like, look, I watched Tiger King, okay? I know what documentaries are. Let me tell you.
That's not what I said, you jerk. All right. Moving on.
Real quick, that actually reminds me, another thing, since I've gotten Peacock. I actually ordered Peacock strictly because the WWE Network is now exclusively on Peacock. So if you want to watch wrestling pay-per-views, you have to have Peacock, So anyway, I started watching other things, and another thing they have when you're talking about documentaries is they have a very interesting documentary on John Wayne Gacy on there, and he's a famous serial killer, Tim, dressed up like a clown. And,
the Ted Bundy tapes. That was an excellent documentary, by the way. Okay, go ahead.
Anyway, so as I was saying, John Wayne Gacy, I'm about an episode and a half into it, and it's pretty interesting. If you're into serial killer documentaries, I recommend it.
The Office is also a fantastic, very long documentary about The Office. Very well done.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to our main event. We're gonna forego any revelations because I didn't see any awesome trailers because I don't like watching them. We watched Mortal Kombat. I did see the Cruella trailer, and I don't like it. I love Emma Stone. I'm excited about the concept of that they were doing it, but what I saw in there, she's like a spy or something weird. I was like, this is not what I'm interested in. But other than that, I have not seen anything awesome lately. If anyone else has any trailers, that's fine.
This is the same stuff that we saw, and if you went, it's like Quiet Place 2, Black Widow.
He showed that too. I don't know how I feel about that one, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know. Might be good. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I'll see it.
Of course, you'll see it. Because you love the first. Did you like the first one, Nate? Quiet Place?
I haven't seen. Oh, yeah. That's the one with John Krasinski, right?
Yeah, Jim.
I didn't know the second one was out.
It's not.
It's not out
okay.
yet.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Good.
All
I was
right.
thinking I missed something.
Yeah. It's like Star Trek. There was a paradox in time and we went forward and you missed the whole thing. All right. Let's talk about
now.
When will now be then? Now. We're talking about Mortal Kombat. By the way, can I just say I was so excited when they finally played this song in the credits, even though it was a terrible remix and I did not like it, but I was like, at least they did it. That's what I told you, Josh. That's all I cared about.
I thought the same thing when that came out. I'm like, look at that. They're trying to pull a throwback. Okay, fair enough. That's good.
Did you remember that was my one thing I wanted out of it?
Yeah.
And the one offensive thing that would have been thrown in there was also thrown in there. The bicycle kick. As soon as he did it, I was like, freaking kill me now.
They did it perfectly too.
Perfectly? No.
Yeah, it was well, it was done perfectly. It was done perfectly it wasn't done perfectly like Liu Kang in the video game. It was done perfectly for a live action
movie adaptation of a ridiculous move that's goofy and stupid and like just drop the seriousness.
First of all, I love Liu Kang. Don't be talking trash about Liu Kang, okay? That dude was
for real.
Okay.
All right.
And it was pulled off much better than the original bicycle kick against Reptile in the first movie. Yeah.
That
looked like garbage.
Okay, so real quick on that subject, Okay, Reptile. I was very unhappy with Reptile in this one. I was, because Reptile in the original games was just a green version of Sub-Zero and Scorpion, and then he pulled off his
Because that's
mask.
all their characters were different colored versions of Sub-Zero and Scorpion.
Because they're the coolest.
Either a martial artist, a lightning god, or one of the ninjas.
But the point is, Tim, is that the Reptile that they made basically kind of looked a little bit like a weird reptile version of Venom, kind of, and just like it wasn't even dressed up like Reptile in any of the games. So I was just kind of maybe in the later games, I don't know, I don't really play the later. I have 11 and I've played it like 3 times with my son.
Hey, how many of you played through, Josh? Do you have 11 Mortal Kombat games?
I get them every time they come out, but I very rarely play them. I mean, the ones I played, my favorite is Mortal Kombat 2 by a long
What about you, Nate? How many do you have? How many have you played?
Mortal Kombat 1 through 3.
Okay.
It's been a long time.
So,
I played Mortal Kombat 1, hated it.
11, just so you know, Nate, 11 is actually really fantastic. Most of the ones that have come out since it, 10 was pretty good too. The ones between and then they did the Mortal Kombat versus like DC.
Superman.
Yeah, they did like a thing, and I
tried to play that because I loved it. I was so excited, but
it was a PG-13 version, and I was unhappy with that too. But yeah, I mean, the fatalities are just ridiculous on the 11th one. But the sweet spot is 1 through 3. Those are
John or Ashley, have you played any of the games? Have you ever played Mortal Kombat?
Yes, I played with my cousins when I was little, all the time.
I don't need your life story. Which ones did you play?
One, jerk.
Yes.
No.
All right. Well, there's 2 ways we can talk about this or tackle this. We can either to break it down and talk about the characters, or kind of go through the plot just a little bit, because I gotta say,
a plot.
Okay, so here's what I would say just out the gate. Okay. If you go into the movie understanding it is a video game movie, you're going to love it. If anyone walked in there expecting an Oscar level plot, you're not being real. Like, look, it's a movie where you're going in there to see nasty fatalities and you're cool video game people in real life. And that's what you got. So like,
this isn't Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Right.
You know?
Right. It's the same thing with Godzilla versus Kong. Like, you're going in there to watch Godzilla fight Kong. That's what you want. You want CGI monsters destroying Tokyo. That's what you want. And that's what happened.
No, they tried to make this big epic plot and they made it ridiculous. And that's what slowed it down. You're like, stop this crap. Especially the first Godzilla.
But no, you're right. But I'm saying Godzilla versus Kong, I thought they did well. But like, the point is in Mortal Kombat, if you're going in understanding like it's a video game movie, it was one of the better video game movies I've seen. I mean, really, as far as an adaptation, like when you compare it to, Rampage.
Okay,
like,
can I just make you upset with me right now?
You always do.
I'm absolutely being serious. After I watched it, and Nate, I saw your post. You posted when you watched it, and I don't read reviews, and you have how you have the little thing on Facebook. It has like the first 2 sentences says ... I didn't click on the ... to get the rest of your thought. And then like 2 days later, you watched the first one, and I didn't look at any of that because I can only imagine you're like, oh, it was suck compared to the new one. I'm totally serious. I would go back and watch the original before I would go back and rewatch the one I just saw. Just because if you're talking about all that crap you just said, Josh, for the cheese, for karate, like the martial arts, the fun stuff, you're not going in for a good story, because I'm sorry, the first one had a better story than this one. If I just want to go have an entertaining, fun time, the first one was more entertaining to me than this one. Save it be the special effects and the fatalities and the gore. That stuff was way awesome. But the martial arts, I think, was way more exciting and fun to watch in the original. The characters were a lot more...
No way. I just rewatched it, Tim. The choreography, comparatively speaking, it's super clunky and slow.
The original?
The original.
No.
You rewatch it and you'll be like, oh.
I watched it this year.
You telegraphed that. Yeah.
Oh.
It's bad.
I think, the camera's pulled
and Christopher
out.
Lambert as Raiden. There can be only one.
This
Raiden.
guy was terrible as Raiden. I was like, Christopher Lambert could have totally saved that scene. Like the moment those guys come in, and he's like, what about them? And they're like, oh no.
Okay,
like,
here's another thing. They didn't even spell Raiden properly in the credits. It's spelled Rayden in the credits. It's spelled properly on IMDb, but not in the credits.
That's some post-production company's fault, not.
Oh yeah, that's not on the director at all for missing.
No. I'm just saying it's not a good movie, and we just watched it. I think we were going to do a Street Fighter Mortal Kombat discussion. We just watched it. I love it when the scene in the middle of the movie when the three of them go into when they're following Kano. I know we're not reviewing this movie. I'm just saying when they all come in and they all get in that big fight. And every time that music starts, you get all pumped up and excited. Yeah. And they have this really awesome choreography, and then it ends with something like interesting. And then Raiden has to like continue the expositions and continue telling about the next part of the story. This one had none of that. This one needed an opening crawl or something to give us some introduction to this world or what's going on. Because you suddenly start shooting out into the outer world, whatever, I don't know what they're called.
Yeah.
And then you don't know who these people are. They're having their meetings. They're not introducing ideas or themes or anything. And I couldn't tell you what the rules were of this movie. In the first one, at least Raiden told the characters.
The thing that I kind of gathered from it was okay, first and foremost, it's not Mortal Kombat, because we know that Mortal Kombat is the actual tournament.
Yes.
There was no tournament here. This was all a setup.
Exactly.
It was setting up the actual tournament movie. So that's probably why it felt like such a letdown, because setup movies always suck.
I didn't think it sucked at all. I thought it was a lot of fun.
Okay,
yeah,
I don't
understand.
Fun.
And like on the other part of that, it's like, really, who is going and seeing this who doesn't know what Mortal Kombat is? There's no one out there like, oh, that looks interesting. I wonder if I should go and watch that.
But you
like,
still have to explain what's going on with the characters. You can't have these characters suddenly find like the lightning temple, and then all of a sudden the lightning comes down and protects them from these guys that can teleport through smoke. We don't understand why they're trying to go, because they want to attack them before the combat because they want to make sure they win. But they fought them as a team and they won. They fought them one-on-one and they won. What were they so worried about the tournament for? And then Kano goes and uses his super beam to shoot a scepter that we had no introduction to, and all of a sudden the shields come down.
That's how Raiden brought down the shield. It was with that scepter.
Had it.
Well, where did Raiden go? Raiden was he just traveling?
It's his lightning temple. He gets to travel in and out.
Well, but it's just like, what else could he possibly have to do other than oversee the training of these warriors that are supposed to be fulfilling prophecy to protect Earth from this tournament where he's like, I'm in charge of finding the people and this is all Earth has? Yeah, I'm out.
Let's forget that he's trained the last 9 generations of fighters who have lost the tournament. And they're on like number 10 where it's like, oh no, it's do or die.
Tim, I don't think you pay attention in these movies. Like,
no.
Like, I think you go and like you fall asleep or something. Like, you don't like slamming it down and creating this giant like lightning ball, and then you didn't notice like when Raiden said that he can't be involved in like the fighting of like this stuff. And like they talk about that, like,
gods they get into it all the time. He came in with his demons and started a fight, and they tried to throw the boomerang hat at him. He's like, whoop, and it missed. And I was like, apparently he's engaged in the battle. Why can't Raiden also be present in the battle?
Because
Shang Tsung
is engaged.
Shang Tsung is a champion. He's a combatant.
If only the movie told us that.
He's not a god. He's a wizard.
Again, we just see these people sitting on thrones out on Tatooine, and we're supposed to know who these people are, what are their rules, what is their involvement.
So I would agree that the plot moved rather fast, and it moved in a way that they didn't explain a lot. Like I feel like this is a movie
Anything.
that for real fans, I think they needed to make it about 30 minutes longer so they could have explained more stuff. Because like really, you're right, it's a setup movie. They could have really set up a lot more to it. Like I didn't really like the fact that like, you know, so they spend all this time with Sonya, Kano, and Jax finding the temple, and then boom, Liu Kang and and Kung Lao are there, and you're like, where did they come from, and how are they already have all their stuff, you know what I mean?
So
like,
yeah, I felt like those ones were the easy ones to just kind of throw in and not have to give them a ton of exposition. You expect Liu Kang and you expect Kung Lao to like kind of naturally have followed Raiden. I mean, that was kind of part of the original Mortal Kombat. Was Raiden kind of was the protector of Liu Kang's village that he abandoned.
Right.
So for me, that wasn't like a major
flaw. There were
flaw.
a lot of Lord of the Rings crossing the desert sequences for them to slowly travel to get to the Lightning Temple before we get introduced to the rest of the cast, and then it's just fight. I'm great with a lot of action, but like in the first one, same. How long is the first one, Nate? About 2 hours, right? Maybe less.
Yeah.
It's like, but in that movie,
yeah.
there was just as much fighting. It was just battle or stage after stage after stage, like a video game movie. But they told a story as it was going. This one, it was just they threw you into a scene and threw characters in the scene. They interacted, but didn't really tell us anything that was happening. And I don't need a lot of long dialogue. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You can write a script that tells a story with action. And we've seen it. I mean, the original Mortal Kombat did that. The original Street Fighter movie did that.
Oh, that was a horrible movie.
Yes,
Worst
horrible.
movie ever, Tim. Worst movie ever.
No.
That's the movie.
Terrible
that killed
movie,
the
but
whole
not the
studio,
worst ever.
man.
Oh, it's bad.
let me just say, first of all, can we all agree that Kano stole the show? I mean, Kano was fantastic. Like, oh
Yeah.
my, everything he did. You know, that's the one thing I didn't like. So, you know, I don't typically watch R-rated movies, but this is one where I was like, this is my favorite game of all time. I'm absolutely going to go see it. And I expected a lot of blood. I didn't like, there was a lot. I mean, just because, you know, we get a lot of, you know, members of the church who are going to watch this. There's a significant amount of cussing, but I'll tell you what, Kano was, even though he was the one who was doing most of it, it was perfect for his character. I mean, he was so good. Because I personally, from the original game, I think Sonya Blade and Kano are the most boring characters of them all. But they, in this movie, were actually really interesting. I thought that
Sonya was awful in this movie.
What? Sonya was so much better than Veronica Vaughn.
No way, dude.
She sure
has
developed
the
her
worst-
powers awfully fast after killing Kano. Right?
Well,
She got her-
that's bad. Again, the story being thrown at you really quickly. But her dialogue was just awful, and it's a script. It's not her, but her delivery was also dumb. Like when all this stuff with her, oh, I'm not giving him $3 million. I live here. You think I have $3 million? Like the stuff like that. Like, oh, Jax, you gotta work with your arms. You'll be okay, buddy. Like all that stupid crap was not sold. And she was attractive at gorgeous eyes, but she was not interesting at all as a character. She's a weird conspiracy theorist who lives in a junkyard, who's piecing all this stuff together.
Not a weird conspiracy theorist. She's a former military special ops.
Who lives in a junkyard following these weird Mortal Kombat runes, and
she did have the conspiracy theory like yarn and like photo like
case,
patterns and maps, and
that was
one of the things that the main character made fun of her. Like, seriously, you had me there for a second, then you said Mortal Kombat? Are you kidding me?
It's even spelled wrong. I didn't like some of those jokes.
You know what though? Like that was the part that they threw the whole concept of Mortal Kombat at you so quickly in that moment. They were like, look at all these things that I've learned. Here's my life's work right here about Mortal Kombat right now. You know what I mean?
Because it wasn't a script. They just said, we got to throw it in here. She knows it all and just going to tell him. Remember the original Raiden slowly, you know, they show up to the dock and there's the boat comes out of nowhere and like disappears in the fog and everything. They're like figuring out what's going on. They meet the ninjas and the ghosts on the ship and they're like, what is happening? And then like slowly they're introduced by Raiden to the next step of what's going to happen. They don't even know about the Tatooine world until they get to that phase of the story, and it just kind of grows and evolves. And as an audience, we're just slowly going along the journey with them. And this one, here's this awesome action sequence, and we know Scorpion and Sub-Zero, great. In the future, here's a cage fighter. We've seen that a million times, and he lost, okay. And then he runs into Red Sonja, and Red Sonja's like, or Blonde Sonja is like, hey. Blonde Sonja's like, hey.
Cross-pollinating with Conan now.
Yeah. Exactly. She's like, oh, by the way, we need the next character. Here's Kano. I caught him for reasons. Why is he? Oh, because he's a mercenary. He swears a lot. I got him. And then Reptile comes in. The death of Reptile was pretty. I agree, he was stupid, but his death where he rapes it and grabs the heart and stuff, and then he's like drawing it on the napkin or whatever later. That was awesome.
Oh, that was great.
That reptile design is what we should have gotten for the reptile in Spider-Man.
But again, we don't know what he's doing there.
So
he's an assassin.
I gotta say, the other thing I loved was how, like, even though it was Mortal Kombat, when the fatalities happened, I was still kind of shocked. Like,
oh yeah,
I remember my brother and I went together, and you know, the first half of the movie, there's like that one scene where he pulls his heart out, where you're like, oh, that's cool. You know what I mean? Like, that's awesome. But other than that, it really hadn't been too violent. And then all of a sudden, Kung Lao's hat, and
too violent. The opening sequence was gory as crap. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Scorpion did kill a lot of people.
Yeah, but it wasn't really. I didn't think it was that bad. The scene with the hat where he cuts the girl in half, that scene,
that was graphic. That was awesome.
My brother was like, oh, I don't know why I wasn't expecting that. You know, like, it was.
Didn't
like,
someone like Goro smash someone's head?
No, that was Jax.
Yeah,
Jax
Jax
smashed the general's head.
Oh, and I knew he was a general because
they called him general, and he had a big hammer. And
okay.
Those are all the qualifiers you need for general.
Can I say about Jax? It was funny that in this one, it was like he had to embrace his sci-fi arms in order to be victorious. Like, yeah, these things work. But in the original one, Raiden's like, yeah, those are your weakness. That's not your strength. It's like your heart and your spirit and all that stuff. And this one, it's like, nah, screw that.
That's his superpower in this one. He gets super armor over his robot arms.
Found it. It was so exciting when everyone found their Arcana.
When his arms got ripped off was freaking crazy. That was so awesome.
I enjoyed that.
Cool. I like that they added a backstory to why Jax's arms are like metal. I like that. I thought that
not just cool. He decided in the second movie that he was going to have super cybernetic arms and be awesome.
Well, they found him in like a lab or something, if I remember right, and he was like, "Oh, I'll put these things on, all Spartacus style," you know.
Let's talk about Scorpion and Sub-Zero, and can I just say, this is what I was going to say in the beginning, Josh. As I was watching the first couple minutes of this, it dawned on me that I don't care about these characters. I didn't care about how true it was. I didn't care. I love Sub-Zero. I love Scorpion. I love how big of a part of the story Sub-Zero was, especially in the second movie, the originals. But I'm sitting there watching this first couple minutes. I'm like, I don't know how accurate this is or if this goes along with any of the video game lore, but I realized that I don't care. I have no attachment or no dogs in the fight for this franchise. They could do anything with these characters, and I would be like, okay, as long as it's entertaining and fun. It was fun, but not entertaining. And I was just like, it's just like a new Zelda game. It doesn't have to go along with anything else that's ever happened. It's just, here's the characters. Whatever you throw at me, I'm just going to accept it. So they could do anything in this movie, and I would have been fine with it, but they just didn't tell a story. That was my problem.
From what I remember about the lore, and this was kind of a sticking point with the original, was that Sub-Zero and Scorpion were mortal enemies.
Yeah.
And that was like, people were like, what? Scorpion and Sub-Zero are on the same team? Huh? And so like, that was one thing that I was like, yeah, okay, they're respecting the lore and the mythology of the story, if we can call it mythology. I think that's a stretch, but still.
Mortology.
Mortology. Combatology.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know. What do you think, Josh?
I loved. First of all, I loved that he turned into Scorpion at the end, and I thought that was really cool.
He didn't turn into Scorpion.
Yes,
Scorpion
he
turned
did.
into Scorpion. He had Scorpion-shaped batons.
Yeah, he was Scorpion Jr. You could see it like as when Raiden walked off with the baby, and then it cut to Cole Young. It was like, oh yeah, that's the descendant. Obviously, he's the chosen one.
Sure, but the point was that I thought it was cool that that I thought the progeny of Scorpion was a cool story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same with I like that they had a backstory for Jax's arms. I liked the story they gave to Kano. I thought that was an interesting take on
I like Kano better than the original. This character had great dialogue and he was cool. But I also like Kano in the original. But go ahead.
They were really pretty similar.
I also liked I thought Goro was cool in this one too.
Yeah, they show Goro come out on the bridge and his long shape or his shadow stretched off like this secret reveal. You already showed him to us in the trailer. Just freaking show him. It's like, what's the point?
That's one of the things that I like. That I liked about the original is they gave Goro like some actual lines instead of grunts and screams.
He was the Prince of Darkness or whatever. What, Ashley?
What?
You just said something.
I was saying that he needed his dramatic entrance because he's a prince. They were showing his hierarchy.
But then cut it. But then it cut. Yeah, they just don't show in the trailer. Just say something. No one's not going to go to. No one's watching the trailer and be like, "Oh, I would go see this movie, but Goro's not in it." That didn't sell any additional tickets. So just don't show Goro.
Let me just tell you right now, I would have been sorely disappointed if Goro wasn't in it. Because
I know, I'm saying put him in the movie, but you don't need to put him in the trailer and show him. Show the shadow in the trailer. Get us excited. Let us have a little anticipation. But no, they're like, look at our CGI. Isn't he awesome? He's going to die instantly with no real character, no plot or consequences. He's just,
I guess the marketing department didn't
pretty quick.
Wild Productions on this. I don't know. No, I also liked too that in the final fights there were a couple of scenes where the fights actually took place that were very similar to the scenes in some of the later games. Like it's some of the places where you'd actually fight in the games as well. So
how many times in the games is it 2-on-1? That was my question.
I do know in some of the later games you can do a 2-on-2 or a 2-on-2.
Yeah, like a tag team. Yeah.
But that's different. See, remember at the end of the first movie when they tried to help and they're like, no, he must do it himself. And because it's Mortal Kombat, there's rules and honor and stuff. And this was you have a god who just came from hell fighting Sub-Zero, who's already taken out everyone already. But now now that you can tag team, this is your noble victory to prove that you are the chosen one with the.
But see, that's the thing is it wasn't Mortal Kombat. It was shenanigans going on before Mortal Kombat. We're gonna really screw you guys so that you can't win. That was the essence of the plot, which was one of the reasons why it was kind of lacking.
Also, one of the moves that you can do as Scorpion is you can actually teleport Scorpion's body. There'll be more than one Scorpion at times in your game. So you can move and teleport onto the other side of the screen, but your guy stays there. Right, so it's not out of the realm of the canon to have Scorpion be two different people, kind of like the way it was looking there. But anyhow,
hang on, didn't Sub-Zero do that in that last fight where he made a little frozen copy of himself crouching down and then moved and he kicked the guy the frozen copy?
That comes from the game.
Yeah, I knew that was a move, but I didn't know if that actually happened or if I imagined it. He did do that?
I can't remember if that happened or not.
I swore it. I was like, that was awesome. He was ducked down and crouched, and then they were attacking, and then it wasn't him, and they knocked over the block of ice.
Oh, and I also have to say, I guess we're just going straight spoilers now, pretty much. I do have to say that I love the end where they tease a Johnny Cage.
Yes.
Yes.
So,
Johnny Cage was awesome in the original, by the way.
Yeah.
He was my favorite part.
Because he's an awesome character. So here's the thing, though.
And they kill him at the beginning of the next movie.
Here's a little fun fact. There's a competition for our tens of fans. There is a online petition going on right now to have the Miz from the WWE play Johnny Cage, and he would be perfect for it. If you saw a picture of the Miz, he is dead ringer, would be perfect for Johnny Cage.
The other one that I've heard that would be a good one is Ryan Reynolds. He's got that kind of swagger.
Ryan Reynolds would be good too. Do you think though that Ryan Reynolds would do this movie? I mean, I don't think there was anybody in that movie that was someone you knew.
No, it was all newcomers, and I think that's how they were able to keep the budget down.
And I
don't think Ryan Reynolds would be very good. They've already putting him in literally everything. So it's like, I don't know. I wouldn't.
It would do it.
Hasn't he been Deadpool and Green Arrow and
Green Lantern?
Green Arrow.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah, he's been like 2 or 3 superheroes already.
Well, I want to talk more about Sub-Zero real quick, because in the introduction, I thought he was super cool, and you got this menacing feel.
No pun intended.
I didn't catch that.
I said no pun intended. You said
I heard
he was
what you
super
said.
cool.
I'm saying
okay.
I didn't intentionally say it like that.
Yeah, it was unintended.
He was so cool. He was like ice cold of heart. Anyway,
He's so
so
cool.
but when you see Raiden start slashing up all those guys, you're like, man, this is graphic. This is pretty intense. You get excited. But as soon as Sub-Zero comes in and like throws his sword down or whatever, he's like, yeah, I don't need that. You're like, that's him. And then all of a sudden, his wife, I remember his wife is like holding the child or whatever, but like by time you come back and see their frozen corpses after her scream, I don't know if you saw it very carefully, and I'm glad I saw it on the big screen just for this part, but I could have seen it in my home just as well. He did pierce her through with the icicle on his hand, because when Scorpion finds her, it's got a spear out with blood frozen in the ice with it, and it was so graphic because then he like speared her and then froze her.
It's Hanzo. He wasn't Scorpion at that point. He was still.
I'm sorry.
Get it right, Tim.
Yeah, it wasn't until he descended to hell and then came out of the earth that he became a scorpion.
It's a big deal.
Anyway, that was pretty awesome. I love that. I love the fight with him in Sub-Zero, because you were like, man,
yeah,
it's pretty cool, except for you're seeing a mortal guy up against a demigod ghost demon guy. So you're like, well, he's gonna lose.
But Sub-Zero, he had his Akana at the time, but he was not in the beginning of the movie. He had not become Sub-Zero necessarily yet.
So he could just call icicles from his hands from nothing?
Yeah, there's Akana.
Okay,
Yeah,
so again, here we are again. If the movie had told us what was going on, we'd have understood.
He hadn't developed yet. It was hundreds of years later that he developed into Sub-Zero. It was the beginning.
So how come he can live for hundreds of years?
Because he's Sub-Zero.
He said he wasn't Sub-Zero.
He's got some kind of fancy Shang Tsung magic in him.
Or he wandered into an episode of Star Trek, right?
Scorpion is
Just saying, there's no rules in this show. It didn't make sense. I enjoyed that, and then all of a sudden,
you're telling me that the movie, based on a video game that is just based on total complete blood and violence, didn't make sense.
Correct.
It's not like
in the original, he says some line.
That was intentional, I think. It not making sense. I think that was intentional.
In the original, it's like, these are my servants, these are my guards, my ninjas, or whatever, my enforcers, or whatever. He's like, they're my slaves. That's all I need to know. This was like, he's just some cool guy, right? And he's just it didn't explain why does Scorpion just go to hell when he seemed like a good guy?
That was the one thing I didn't understand. I was like, wait a minute, why did Hanzo go to hell? He was like trying to protect his family.
Yeah.
No,
back.
I think that was one of those Dante's Inferno kind of things where he's like, you know what, I'm gonna go through a journey through hell before I can like reach salvation or whatever. I don't know.
No, it was because he was so angry and wanted vengeance. It was a gift of the gods that he could go to hell until he was able to come back.
Which gods?
I mean, he was consumed with fire.
Yeah. So they were giving him the opportunity to have his revenge. Since, like, because that's the thing, he, like, was fighting for his family, but then he was trying to get to his baby. He heard his baby cry.
Yeah.
And then, you know, so he died in pursuit, you know, so it's
I had no
that was the
concerns
gift
about
of
his
the
righteous
gods.
motives. I was concerned about his punishment.
No, that's what I'm saying. His punishment, it wasn't a punishment. He had to go there so he could transform to become Scorpion, so he could have his revenge in the future on Sub-Zero. Like, it's that whole thing.
Okay. Well, it was a cool opening sequence no matter what. And then it brought up some really weird dialogue that didn't explain anything that was about to happen. And then you suddenly see Sub-Zero. By the way, can I just say Sub-Zero's armor crap? Why does he need armor? He's Sub-Zero, and he's like a demon god guy at this point.
Hey,
it's like,
what are you talking about? He
no
looks
sense.
just like Sub-Zero looks.
He did not look like Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero wears cloth and just blue.
Oh,
and
Sub-Zero's had a lot of different outfits over the
well,
years.
he
Some of
looked
them
better.
include armor.
He looked better 25 years ago in the other movie.
I liked Scorpion's armor too, how it was kind of samurai-ish.
Yeah,
But he was
the
a
way it
samurai
looks.
guy in this one.
That's the way it looks in the new.
Well, Sub-Zero was a kung fu ninja. I don't know.
But it doesn't make sense that he needs to have armor when he's like a super. If I was a ninja god with like ice powers like he had, I wouldn't be walking around in clunky, ugly armor. I would look really cool with like the pajama pants on. Just saying.
And your Batman Superman hat.
Yes,
So-
with my backwards Superman hat. Ass.
So actually, it's actually really funny that my son, I took my son as well because I'm a bad father, and he was sitting there and he was so funny because I can't remember which one is which. I think that Sub-Zero is speaking
Japanese and Chinese.
Yeah. One of them speaking Japanese, one speaking Chinese.
Wasn't Hanzo speaking Japanese? Because
Yeah.
Sub-Zero speaking Chinese.
Yeah,
Sub-Zero was bilingual.
My son,
I thought they screwed up on the subtitles because it came up Japanese and it came up Chinese. Oh wait, did they screw up on which
it's
translation?
So the funny thing is, my son is like, wait, one speaking Japanese and one speaking Chinese. They can't even understand each other. Why are they talking to each other?
He says it. Yeah.
I was like, good.
I like when he came later when they were eating in the street in the pizzeria or whatever, and then all of a sudden like it starts snowing and everyone stops to look at the snow, and I'm in the theater pretty much by myself, and all of a sudden I hear rain, and I'm like, did they screw up the sound design? It's like rain. It's like rain hitting tin, and I was like a tin roof, and I'm like, what is happening? And then all of a sudden they look and then they see the frost gathering on the table or whatever. I'm like, oh, that's the crackle from the ice building, but it started like 30 seconds before they showed it, so it looked like just terrible sound design for raining snow happening. And then he starts smashing the hail down, which was super awesome, but they escape by driving away in a Jeep or whatever. And correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not a mechanic, but don't engines have like water and liquids inside that he could have frozen to completely seize their engine instantly? Just curious.
No, he can only freeze water. That stuff's got antifreeze, obviously. In
the radiator?
in California, duh.
Oh, duh. They outran him. Okay.
That thing car is like hailstones the size of frigging cantaloupes hitting a windshield and windows. Those things aren't going to survive.
Yeah.
There were a whole lot of intact windows and no like broken windshields at all.
Well, isn't that the same vehicle that later on Goro like gets the hammer? He's like smashing on top of the roof, and it's like, yeah, it's all right.
No,
Maybe
that's like another
trying
farm
to sell
truck.
trucks. Maybe that's what this movie was about. It was product placement.
This truck can take Goro's hammer. So.
Yeah. I did like that stuff when he faded into the alley and all that. The fight with Jax was awesome, except for Jax just randomly goes into some building and starts going up the stairs and looking around. That was kind of weird. But all that stuff was really cool. I like that. I didn't like anything that happened in the lightning place other than some of the gore, but like they introduced Liu Kang, and he's like charging up for the last battle. He's like, hang on, I can't go to the last battle until I finish dressing myself more like Ryu. And then he like says, oh, I was the last champion. And then he gets his butt kicked. And right after he gets his butt kicked, he's like, now I'll train you. And I'm sure these guys are like, oh, okay, I'm sure you have a lot of great input. We're brand new and don't even have our magic chi or whatever. And you just got wasted being able to throw fireballs. Didn't do you any good. But now you're going to be like our sensei. What the crap?
Yeah, Liu Kang, he's truly fallen from grace from the original movies where he was like the savior, and now he's like just this kind of side character who has weak fireballs and gets his butt kicked. Like,
Hey,
Liu Kang's supposed to be badass, man.
he turned into a dragon. Okay. Yeah. First of all, I was very bummed. So he turned into the dragon, and then he burned the guy, you know, to the ground. I can't remember exactly who he was fighting, but
in the second
in this movie in the second game, my favorite fatality was Liu Kang turning into a dragon and eating half of the body of their opponent. And so I was really hoping he was going to do that, and he didn't, and I was like kind of let down. So
yeah,
that was the part. The dragon did bite down.
Yeah, but it burned him. It didn't bite half his body off. Like,
yeah.
All that was dumb. I'm sorry. Your little.
It was like the fireworks in Lord of the Rings.
Those things were dumb. Not Lord of the Rings. That was awesome. But just,
I don't know what you're talking about. Those were awesome.
Once you're in like a fist fight and all of a sudden
came down and...
Yeah, that was awesome.
And I love it. It was awesome, but that's like the equivalent effect of what Liu Kang did. He used Gandalf
fireworks
to kill that guy in that fatality.
I also recognize how cheesy it was, but I loved the little jabs in there, like flawless victory.
That's my biggest gripe. That's my biggest gripe because it conflicts with the rest of the tone of the movie. The tone of the movie is very serious, and then you throw these cheesy one-liners in it, and it adds a level of camp that just, I don't know, it was off-putting for me.
It was a video game. Like that's why that was this is a video game movie. The cheesy little video game things had to be in there.
And don't have all these Lord of the Rings shots of them walking across a desert with this amazing drone shots and stuff. That's not what you put when the next scene you're gonna have Kano wins. This just didn't work.
Yeah. And flawless victory. That one just doesn't.
Who would say that?
Happen off the tongue.
Video game.
The video game
understand finish him from coming from like Shang Tsung or something. That would be appropriate. But get over here is.
Well, okay, you knew that one was coming, but it doesn't work.
No, those are moral imperatives to this movie. You cannot.
Where they did work in the first movie, where that movie was fun and campy. This one was trying to be too serious. It was too far up its own butt, and it didn't work.
Flawless victory
is from it was a camp fest.
But flawless victory is when you win and you win a round without getting hit once. That's what. So they actually say that in the game. That's why it was there.
Well, yeah, it just is cheesy.
Or Kano, I thought Kano wins was pretty.
What? Okay, going along with that, what video game lines are not cheesy? I'm just throwing that out there.
They're fine. Just don't put them in. Don't put all the lines in there. Then
that's kind of their whole point. It's part of the fun.
But in a video game setting, it works because this is a tournament, and you're like trying to positively reinforce your video game player so that he doesn't quit because he just lost the last 10 rounds before he won this one. And so, yeah, it works in a video game, but in a movie, it just feels forced.
It's a video game movie, which is why there's no need for a plot, which is why there's nothing else. People are going to watch their characters from a video game that they like fight each other to the death. Like that was the whole purpose of it.
Pandering never pays off.
Look at the Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
Movies. He pandered, and those ones were horrible. Horrible, I say.
Also add, I am very excited for the part 2 that's coming with Johnny Cage. I'm very excited for them to actually get to Mortal Kombat and actually have a fight.
You think?
I'm glad that the guys who actually died, I mean, other than, Sub-Zero, who is he'll come back, I'm sure. But like the fact that I actually was kind of bummed that Goro's dead already.
Sub-Zero, the actor for Sub-Zero is signed for 4 more sequels.
I do not.
They're all coming back. All of them. All of them are coming back. Which is like why he said the thing and you saw them like dissipate into the smoke and everything. Like
I hope not. I really hope that the General and Kung Lao are not coming back.
Kung Lao, it's part of the mythology that he's come back and it's because he's been risen from the dead by Shang Tsung and is a bad guy at that point. So that would actually come with like some actually decent like character conflict and drama between him and Liu Kang because they're cousins, you know. So I think that could actually work.
I just
See,
don't
I
like.
don't know any of these names or the things these ideas you guys are talking about because the movie didn't set anything up or tell me anything that was going on.
Well,
Which
that's
is
because
why I said people who are seeing this movie aren't the ones that are like, oh, what should we learn about Mortal Kombat? They're people who already know, like people who are interested in it. I mean, which is lame for the people who you want to get into it, but like no one is going to this who doesn't know anything already.
If I go see King Kong versus Godzilla, they told me who King Kong was and who Godzilla was. I didn't need to like say, oh well, I played Rampage on my Commodore 64, so I know what's going on in the story. A movie should still establish its own world. That's what a script.
But the thing is, though, is you knew who Godzilla and King Kong were.
Yeah, because I watched the previous movies that also established who they were in this universe. It's not like, oh, have you never seen the black and white claymation movie? Well, you're
that's not claymation. It's always been a dude in a suit. You've never seen 1954 Godzilla, Gojira? Come on, man. That's a classic.
So I think you're right. Like you say, oh, well, I knew who Godzilla was and King Kong was because I've watched all the movies. Well, we know who all these guys are because we've played the games.
Except for the main character, Cole Young. He's never been in any game. Yeah. And that's kind of where I'm gonna disagree with the whole the audience is expected to be people who are well versed in Mortal Kombat because the primary protagonist is not a character. This is a brand new character, and I think that was to attract some people who were like, well, I don't know much about it, so like I can feel comfortable not knowing stuff because that guy's new.
No.
They did that because they weren't putting Johnny Cage in this movie, so they had to have something else to tie in all of this together so that there could be a video game plotline. Like that's why Cole Young had to be involved. They had to do something along those lines.
And you better believe that in Mortal Kombat 13, Cole Young is going to be a character that you can play, and for sure
he might even show up in 12. 12's coming out in 2023.
Yeah.
I watched the Pokemon movie. I watched Mario movies. I've watched what other video game movies? I can't think of what they are now. Every one of them, though. Sonic. I didn't watch Sonic. But they all tell me at least what the characters are. No, I didn't watch it.
What?
I didn't get around to it.
Love it.
Fantastic movie.
Yeah.
But I'm saying these movies work, and they guess what? They actually tell a story. There actually is a. I'm not going to say they work. Some of them are terrible movies, but at least they throw together a script that tells a story. You can't just have people completely blind to the universe and not set anything up. And this movie didn't set anything up. It just moved.
It set up a tournament.
You can't say that it was my fault for not being familiar with the games. If you're going to put a movie out and it's going to be on the big screen and it's going to be Mortal Kombat, the original movie had the same number of fights, same story, same number of characters, a bunch of the same characters, but at least it set up its own universe and told a story. That was the biggest problem with this one for me, was the plot, and that's where it drops. The script and the plot were nothing. There was just nothing there. It made no sense. Like, it made sense. It's not Mortal Kombat.
I have already watched part of it a second time. So.
Tomb Raider.
I've watched it through 2 times.
What's that?
I've watched it through 2 times, and it's not bad. It's fun, but it's not. It like we said earlier. It just, for highbrow, wonderful, Oscar-worthy picture, it doesn't measure up. It measures up pretty well against most of the DCEU if we're like comparing it to other superhero movies. It doesn't really measure up to the Marvel movies, most of them at least. But I mean, it's in a genre of kind of trash movies, and it shines among the trash.
I think it is a step above most of the DC movies, not including.
Oh yeah. It doesn't come close to Wonder Woman, and it almost hits Shazam levels, but it definitely is on par with Aquaman, I would say.
Oh, I thought it was better than Aquaman.
Yeah. Are you kidding me? Aquaman told a story, and it had characters that had little arcs.
I would say it was
Who
good.
cares? It's Aquaman was good.
It was good for
Yeah, it was good. I'm just not saying like it was great. Same with Mortal Kombat. It was fun, but it wasn't great.
Oh boy, as a film, Aquaman works far better in like all of the areas compared to this. This one does
Okay.
not work with characters.
Aquaman also has the cheesy one-liners. Remember at the very beginning, he comes down in the submarine hatch and says, "Permission to come aboard." This is a horrible movie.
I'm not saying it was like my favorite movie. It had a lot of stuff I didn't like, but it had a lot of great stuff in all the categories. This one did not have a good script and didn't have a good story.
As a film, the script for Aquaman was really amazing, and the plot they really put it together. The cinematography was great, and they just
it
really
was. Holy cow, it was.
He was like water Superman.
All right, if you guys are done comparing Mortal Kombat to DC movies and Marvel movies, I don't know why.
Well, we're talking about superheroes with superpowers. That's where they took Mortal Kombat. They all had superpowers. Movies. Cole Young had super awesome armor that like was some weird kind of Colossus organic armor, and then magic tonfas.
Whatever. All right, final thoughts, Ashley.
Are we gonna give it a rating?
Yeah, we'll do a rating, but I want to hear final thoughts first, I guess.
I don't know. I thought it was great. I was super excited every time someone found their Arcana. I was like, oh, he found it! Yay! I was like, it was just so sad, like because like Cole left, and I'm like, oh, he's gonna go to his family. Oh, they're gonna die. They're gonna die, and he's gonna find his Arcana.
So
I was like, they survived.
What's the point of him leaving? If like he instantly is like he goes there and he comes back like instantly, and let's not forget Sonya's like, oh, I got a plan to beat him. What was her plan? She was gonna ninja into the floorboards and pop up in a different part of the kitchen. That was her strategy to take out Kano. He's got a laser. Yeah, but I got a kitchen with floorboards. That was so stupid. There was no strategy, no skill for any of that. Sorry.
No way. She pulled some Pet Cemetery stuff where the kid comes out and slices the Achilles heel. That's what she was totally going for, man.
Yeah. No one's the talking about telegraphing. You couldn't tell where anyone was in these fights. Goro, oh, I'm gonna kill you, and I got him, even though he was sent there by whoever's in charge to kill non Scorpion, and then all of a sudden, like he gets hit in the axe in the back. He's like, I'm gonna drop you and go after her, like very slowly. But then when he starts chasing the Jeep, he's like really quick, jumps on the Jeep. And instantly dies. You're telling me no one who could unlock their chi power has ever been able to fight Goro? Because he was pretty easily taken out with the blades.
Agreed.
Yeah, because his internal organs came pouring out. You try fighting with your guts spilling all over the floor.
It should be a little thicker skin than that, or able to.
Yeah, it should be like fighting the whole
arms. Anyway, that fight just turned too quick. Goro was dumb. And really then it was 2-on-1 to beat Sub-Zero at the end. That doesn't impress me.
For the record, Goro is actually really easy to beat in the first.
Did you sweep? Oh, the legs! Can I say that was so funny? I laughed out loud when Kano was fighting whoever it was, and it was the frisbee hair guy, and he swept the legs, he tripped him, he gets up, he trips him again.
Yes, that was
because that was
the only move you know. Cool. Yeah.
I laughed so hard.
See, that was a quality video game illusion. That
exactly.
was quality.
It was well done and worked in the script without being a cheesy line that made no sense. It was hilarious. I laughed out loud. The whole theater was like, what? Because I got it. I got the joke. Oh, let me guess, you're going to do that? Is that your only move? And he jumps.
Everyone else, no, because everyone else in there was pissed that you're that guy. They're like,
no, there's like one other person.
He doesn't do anything else. It's like a total button masher.
No, I'm totally a sleeper. Anyway, that was funny.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, sorry, Ashley. Was there anything else you wanted to share before I'll shut up this time?
No, go ahead. You're fine.
Okay, Nate, how about you? Final thoughts before we do our rating? We're gonna do a final rating on it.
I mean, like I said, it was flawed but still fun. My son enjoyed it. He wanted me to buy Mortal Kombat 11 after we were done watching that. He's like, "Get it on the PlayStation, Dad." I was like, it's still like $50, so maybe when it's cheap.
Get him a Mortal Kombat 2.
If it's making me do the classics on the Nintendo Switch.
There you go.
You gotta come up in the ranks, kids. You don't just get the latest edition. Are you kidding me?
You gotta pay your dues.
I had to train for hours as Liu Kang.
Yeah, I can't play those. Like I said, like what Josh was mentioning, those DC versus Mortal Kombat. I was so excited to see Superman in a fighting game, and I was like, just to get to play with some of those characters. But I suck. I cannot do those controls because Street Fighter was first, and when you block, you push back. You don't have an additional button to block, so I cannot put up a defense against anyone in any of those games, and I hate it. I really hate it because I wish I could play them. I've tried.
I'm the exact opposite. I need that button. I can't do the backwards thing. It's silly. There should be a block button in everything.
I'm not much of a fighting game person. I can get my butt kicked really fast on games. It's quite good.
By someone tripping you over and over?
Yeah. I mistime my jump and come down and poof, sweep the leg.
How about you, Josh?
No, I think that that you have to just go in understanding what you're going to see. And if you go in understanding that you're going to see a video game movie and it's going to be fun and you're going to see the characters from the game, then you're going to have a good time. My biggest fear going into this was I kept saying, I'm really afraid that my expectations are going to be too high and it's never going to live up to that. Right. Like, so I kept telling myself, Josh, this is a video game movie. It's not going to be great. It's not going to, like, the plot isn't going to be awesome. It's just going to be a good time for you to go in and see these characters that you enjoy, that you grew up with, destroying each other and making nasty fatalities. And you're going to watch it with your son and your brother, and that's going to be fun. And that's what it was. I had a great, and I understand also, let me make it clear, we talked about this when we did our review of the Unholy, which, may or may not end up on this show. I don't know if Tim ever gets around to it.
It will.
But I know there's an element of this that I'm just really excited here in California to finally be able to go to the theater again. That is, this is one I could have easily watched on HBO Max, but I was like, no, I'm going to the theater, and I don't care if I have to spend an extra, $30 for me and my son to go see it. I'm gonna go see it in the theater, and that I think added an element to it. Was just being able to go and eat popcorn in a theater and watch a movie. That was pretty cool.
So just like The Unholy, even though it was not a good movie, you were just dazzled by the keychain of being in a theater again, that you were like, oh, that was beautiful. But
overall, Unholy was an interesting movie, not scary in the least, but
this wasn't entertaining.
Mortal Kombat was very much entertaining. I would have had just as much fun.
Oh, yeah.
I would have had fun watching it on HBO Max too.
Yeah,
I have a friend who, when I was a chef and she was one of the servers, we hung out, and her and her husband are actually like really, really good friends with the actor who played Cole Young. And so like on their Facebook page, it was really cool to see like them at the world premiere, and on the red carpet and stuff, and kind of getting to see some of that stuff. So I thought that was really fun and interesting.
Yeah. You didn't get an invite though?
It's nice to see like, some multicultural like pluralism coming into Hollywood instead of whitewashing it. That's one of my gripes from the original is there's so much whitewashing. Like, a Japanese, Chinese god shouldn't be played by some weird French guy who like it has a fetish for cutting off heads.
Well, I'm just gonna say, no matter what you do the first one in casting, don't change Christopher Lambert, because I love him as Raiden, just because he did a great job with that part. For me, I mean, again, like Josh went, if he said just now, if you know what you're going into, then you'll enjoy it. I just wish the movie could tell me what I was getting into, or what was going on, because it didn't tell you anything. And it was a very sloppy plot. It was very jumpy, and it was just like, it was like stages. Like every scene was like a stage set up for a fight. You know what? You can do that because that's how they did it in Tomb Raider, which was great. That's how they did it in Prince of Persia years ago. Like every next scene was a fight sequence. But you know what? It went along with a story that made sense. Even the original Mortal Kombat was like that. And I don't think I'm that unfamiliar with it. I disagree with Nate. I think the fighting, for me, for what I enjoy about martial arts, I like the first one better than this one. But the special effects, the fatalities, as far as all that stuff goes, the CGI and everything, what we got in this one is what we wanted the whole time for a Mortal Kombat movie. Just the gore and the fun and the thrill of that kind of stuff. That stuff all worked, and I would go see future sequels for that and that alone. I did not care about a single character in this. What's his name? Kano was funny, and Sub-Zero did some cool stuff, but I didn't care about anyone except for a Scorpion in the very beginning of the movie. But Hondo died pretty early, so it doesn't matter. It was fun. Oh, but he came back, and he dislocated his jaw to breathe fire because that was his emoji power, whatever. Anyway, that was fun. But yeah, I'll give my first final judgment. So Nate, what we do is it's celestial, terrestrial, or telestial. Celestial means it's worth going to the theater. Don't miss out on seeing it in the theater. Terrestrial means or you buy it on DVD. It's worth having in your collection. Telestial means when you find it on streaming, that's when you watch it. So that's the rating. So is this, if you already sat through this, everything's been spoiled. Whatever. We discussed that earlier. I'll have to actually put that on the thumbnail for once. But for me, this was very much a telestial movie. I don't think I need to buy this film. I mean, the kills and the gore and everything is fun enough that if I run into it on streaming, I can watch it every few years and just watch those scenes, cut right through it. I don't need to purchase it. I don't really think I needed to see it in the theater. So I'm going to say telestial. It did not pay off anything except for those thrills of the gore and stuff. So, Ashley, what about you?
Okay, so I don't know. I think like the whole nostalgia thing is like what was important to me. Like I'm happy I saw it in like the theaters. I don't think I'll buy it just because I have more nostalgia to like the original 95 version. But I think it's worth seeing. So I don't know.
Of course it's worth seeing.
I mean, like if you don't have,
you're not going to buy it.
Attachment. If you don't have any attachment to Mortal Kombat, then like there's no point. But if you have an attachment, then yeah, you're gonna really. We're
not talking about collectors. We're talking about just people watching this to see what our review of the movie.
Let me throw out what I think. Okay.
All right.
What I think is this. Do you need to see it in the theater? I would say you don't need to see it in the theater. But I do think if you don't have HBO Max, it is worth paying the $15 or whatever it is a month to watch it on HBO Max right now. I don't think you wait until it's just randomly streaming on Netflix somewhere.
So that's the same price as the DVD. Would you go buy the DVD? I know you're a collector, but would you recommend someone to go buy the DVD?
Yeah.
If you don't have HBO Max, go buy the DVD. Don't get a subscription just to watch it. Get the DVD.
Well, no. Go buy the Blu-ray. Okay, we're not.
Okay, but whatever. But yeah for your collection. So you're terrestrial.
Yeah, I think I'm like on the lower. I'm on the lower level of celestial. I think I'm like on the slowest degree of glory of the celestial kingdom on this. Is that like you, like if it wasn't streaming on HBO Max, I would say go to the theater to see it. But I don't think you necessarily need the theater experience to enjoy the movie. You could watch it on HBO Max and be fine.
But go buy it. But you think you should buy it. Anyone should go buy it. Yeah. Okay. Terrestrial. Nate, what do you think? We'll get Ashley what to think.
I'm occupying some space between telestial and terrestrial. Now, I already have a subscription to HBO Max, have for some time. So for me, it was just a perk of having that streaming service. So obviously it occupies that low level because I waited until I could just watch it on streaming, right? Which happened to coincide with its world premiere, but we're not going to mince that. Now, when it comes out on video, I buy my movies on iTunes. Like I have a massive 690 some odd movie collection. So when it hits like the $10 or lower bin, I'll buy it.
So it's worth buying. Okay.
Yeah.
So terrestrial. More
So,
terrestrial.
well, I mean, it's not worth buying full price. I wouldn't pay $20 for it.
Okay.
I'm waiting for it to hit the bargain bin, you know?
Okay.
So it occupies some space between the two, I think.
All right. There you go, Ashley. I'm T. Lestial. Just wait till it streams. You can catch it if you want to. Josh and Nate are both in various degrees of get it on at some price for your own collection. What do you think?
I just think it's a personal opinion. I don't know. It make me counter. Like, I don't know. I enjoyed it. I think if you want to see it, definitely it's worth. If you really like it, then buy it. But I have an attachment.
That's
to it.
every movie, Ashley.
If you like it, buy it.
All
I
right.
know.
Yeah, if it entertains you, why not?
Yeah. Okay, we're not getting anything out of Ashley other than she's just glad she has a copy of the original in her collection. That's all we got out of tonight from
Let me
Ashley.
just say also, however, to be fair, I also in my collection have movies such as Velocipaster. So take that for
That's fine. All right. Well,
No.
I think that's a consensus. You know, not to discredit your thoughts, Ashley. I understand what you're saying, but it really sounds like you don't know how to steer someone on this one. You're baffled, and you never have been before.
Never been baffled. Well,
On this,
I mean, like,
this topic.
Okay. So like, I was talking to some friends about it. They never played Mortal Kombat. They never did anything like, you know, they just aren't interested into that like world. So it's like I'm not be like, oh, you need to watch this. You're gonna love it. It's not. It's just, you know, you have to have. I think you need to have that connection to actually like really want it. If you don't have a connection, I don't know. So for
as
some
a movie,
people,
don't buy it. As a film, don't buy it.
don't let him trap you. Actually, don't let him do it to you.
I'm trying to.
As a film. Well, as a film.
As a
it's not-
movie, whatever. I'm not doing that distinction.
As a film, it's terrible.
All right.
Hated it.
it was great.
All right. Yes. Okay. Fair enough. Anything else you want to say, Ashley? Josh cut you off. That was him this time.
No.
All right. Well, that's the common consensus is it's a terrestrial movie. Apparently, these guys think you should get it for your collection. I'll pass. But we enjoy talking about it. I always enjoy making fun of this stuff. I had a whole list of notes that I kept in the theater, or as I was writing in the theater, and I didn't.
Which
even
is
go through
probably why you missed so many important parts.
no. They didn't tell me those parts. I promise.
You're like, hold on, I'm trying to write these notes down.
I can
Not
write without looking, and you can tell by my penmanship. Anyway, all right. Well, Nate, thank you so much for hanging out. It was so fun talking to you and catching up. We'll have to get you back if there's ever a movie or something or topic you want to talk about. Then we can definitely do it because these guys will talk about anything, and I have an opinion on everything, so it'll work.
Well, at some point we can unpack that whole Flash is more powerful than Superman thing. I think.
Yeah, you baited me on that on Facebook. That's for sure. I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, we can talk about that. I'd have to do some actual homework with some real comic books besides movies, but yeah, we could do that. Anyway, Nate, thanks for joining us. It was a pleasure having you. Ashley, Josh, you guys are awesome. I don't always agree with you. I never agree with you, but it's good to talk. Anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. We'll catch you next time on Saints on Cinema. Have a good night or day, whatever.